The Biden administration is putting young female athletes at risk. The fight to keep biological males out of women's sports is becoming more and more urgent each day as the new administration launched an executive order to allow for transgender high schoolers into spaces such as locker rooms, bathrooms, and team sports. I'm Olivia Rondeau. I'm a collegiate wrestler, and I have 3 national titles, 3 state titles, and I'm a 6-time All-American. As someone who has wrestled both men and women, I can attest to the biological advantage that males have over women. The Trump administration had previously supported an ongoing lawsuit in Connecticut supporting biologically female high school track athletes who were being forced to compete against male-to-female transgender athletes. These 2 athletes had amassed 15 state titles between them in the last few years. Now, the Biden administration is withdrawing all government support for this lawsuit in addition to the executive order, which states that it aims to combat and prevent discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity, but this vague wording allows for students to compete how they identify, not as what they biologically are.
When we are all at the start line, we all know that these 2 athletes are going to win. And it should be that the girls are fighting for 1st and 2nd place versus fighting for 3rd and 4th place. Because in a given race, us girls, we will switch on and off with winning. It's not always the same girl each time, but when these 2 athletes participated, it is always one of them who is winning the race.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul couldn't even get a clear answer out of Biden's new Secretary of Education on whether or not boys would be competing with girls.
What do you think in general about boys running in girls' track meets like they've been doing in Connecticut?
I think that it's critically important that education systems and educators respect the rights of all students, including students who are transgender.
But it's also our right to feel safe competing against other biological females. It's unfair for these young girls to have worked so hard to win these titles and college scholarships only to be overshadowed by biological males. Biden's new executive order ensures that transgender students will not be denied access to bathrooms and locker rooms, but this also allows males to access female spaces. Imagine if this was your young daughter in a locker room with a biological male transitioning into a female going through puberty. There is no one-size-fits-all answer to this issue, but the answer cannot be letting males invade young girls' spaces. This is not only a government problem, but an institutional one. The ACLU now plans to sue states that ban male-to-female transgender students from competing in girls' sports. Also, the NCAA has announced their support for transgender athletes, stating that they will no longer hold tournaments in states that are not free from discrimination. However, this means that states that decide to ban male-to-female transgender athletes from competing against biological girls might not be eligible for future NCAA tournaments. These institutions want to make you feel like you are being transphobic for supporting girls in girl sports and boys in boy sports, but you are actually in the silent majority. Imagine you as a parent are uncomfortable with your young daughter competing with biological males, and you realize you have broader support from other parents. You can sign petitions, call your governor, but the institutions are so powerful that that is still not enough. But why does this all matter? Because this is becoming a real safety and equality issue for biological female athletes. Even while transitioning, estrogen will not affect things like height, lung capacity, arm span, bone structure, and a myriad of other things that go into making an athlete. There have even been instances of biologically female athletes being severely injured by transgender athletes. For example, transgender MMA fighter Fallon Fox fractured their opponent's skull during a fight.
What was going on here was this woman who used to be a man for 32 years transitioned to being a woman and it didn't tell anybody. Fought 2 different women who thought they were fighting a woman and got f***ing smashed.
Badly injured, yeah.
Well, I was watching it. It was like watching a man fight a woman. That's what I was watching.
As a female athlete, I want to feel safe in my locker rooms and my teams. Most Americans agree at the obvious advantage that transgender athletes have over female athletes, but it is time for the silent majority to stop being so silent.